Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of Retro Nerds Rewind Podcast. I am Aaron, your host. With me, as always, is Jamal,
What's up, fellow nerds?
Cody,
That's me.
and Sean.
Howdy ho, nerderinos.
All right. So, first thing I want to do today is give a big shout out and welcome to our Apple Podcast listeners.
Yeah.
So welcome. We hope you enjoy hitting rewind with us and every episode. So, hey, Jamal, what's on the docket for today?
On today's episode, we'll be watching Darkwing Duck, specifically the Dead Duck episode, which aired from Season 1, Episode 47, and that aired on February 17th, 1992.
Nice. I remember when that came out. I loved watching it back then. What about you, Jamal? Did you get a chance to catch it when it was on the air?
Yep, I would have been at the Boys and Girls Club, and I loved watching that Disney Afternoon segment with, Tailspin and DuckTales and all those other great episodes, or shows, excuse me.
Yeah. What about you, Cody?
Well, I think I got the tail end of all of those shows. I was mostly watching the earlier shows, which was the little kids. But,
That's right.
was-
I forget. Cody wasn't even born when the show came out.
I was going to say, he was watching the episodes from his dad's belly there.
94, guys. 94 is when I was born. So, yes, I was alive when it aired.
It aired in 92. So,
I guess.
Gotcha.
How long was it on for?
Two
it was
seasons.
just the tail end.
Yeah. So, what about you, Sean? Did you get a chance to watch it when it came out?
Oh, you better believe it. This show shaped my love for puns for sure. And everybody is so if anyone that knows me is looking for something to blame, we have a point of contention right here.
Sweet. That's good to know where the problems all began. All right. Well, we'll be getting into our fun facts here in just a second. Why don't we take a quick break from a word from John to Comics?
What's up, my nerds? So, quick break while we get back to our rewind, but I wanted to take a second here and do a little shout out for some of our sponsors. Starting with our longtime sponsor, Drawn to Comics. Drawn to Comics here in Glendale, Arizona. Amazing place to get your comic books. Located at 58th Avenue and Glendale. They have a discounts code for our listeners that we will provide at the end of the episode. But they're a fantastic comic book shop. Whenever I go in there, I always feel like I'm a VIP, and everyone that I've talked to that goes in there feels the same way. So cannot say enough great things about them. Drawn to Comics, drawntocomics.com, 58th Avenue in Glendale, here in Arizona.
And we are back. Thank you for always being a great sponsor, as always, Drawn to Comics. We love you guys. All right, so Jamal, I heard you had some pretty interesting facts about this show. Let's hear them.
So, did you know that Darkwing Duck was inspired by two specific episodes of DuckTales? Double O Duck, starring Launchpad McQuack as a secret agent, and the Mask Mallard, I think is how you say that.
Yep.
And that's what inspired Darkwing Duck. And then as a tenuous connection to DuckTales, Terry McGovern reprised his role, as Launchpad McQuack, the faithful sidekick to Jim Cummings' Drake Mallard, Darkwing Duck. But did you know that there are supposedly two launch pads? This isn't directly supported by the show itself, but Darkwing Duck creator Tad Stones has gone on record as saying that DuckTales and Darkwing Duck do not share continuity with each other. He went on to indicate that Darkwing's Launchpad couldn't possibly be the same one from DuckTales. Why? For one thing, Launchpad was actually a good pilot on Darkwing Duck.
Wow.
That's true.
They're twins.
But so yeah, those are the fun facts for DuckTales. I mean,
Awesome.
oh my god, see?
Right, Darkwing
I mean,
Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Too many
All
ducks in the house.
Too many ducks in the house.
All right, Sean, why don't you hit rewind and give us that amazing synopsis?
Thank you, Aaron. So we open on Darkwing Duck and Launchpad chasing after Megavolt. They catch up to him at the anvil factory. Darkwing and Megavolt fight it out, and Darkwing's helmet gets damaged by falling anvils in the process, like you do. Megavolt runs off again, and Darkwing and Launchpad are about to give chase once again, but Launchpad warns Darkwing that the dangers of riding a motorcycle, now without a helmet, are more than dangerous. It'll be fine. Trust me, he says. And sure enough, they crash and Darkwing is sent headfirst into a brick wall. Darkwing lands in a soft afterlife where he meets Lucifer, but let's not call him Lucifer. Welcome a long line into let's not call it hell. Darkwing doesn't have time to stick around, so takes an elevator upstairs and meets St. Peter at the pearly gates. Oh, sure, we can call him that. Lucifer follows and gets into an argument with Pete about who gets Darkwing. Darkwing, still in denial over his death, runs back to the mortal realm, now as a ghost, and returns home to find a grieving Gosselin and Launchpad. Though able to see him through the power of love, Darkwing asks for help to figure out what happened to him. Meanwhile, Megavolt starts to gain fame and notoriety for killing a superhero, the first time that ever happened, apparently. The crew visits Morgana Macabre as she attempts to cast a spell to resurrect Darkwing, but it fails. Death comes for Darkwing, as he finally accepts he might actually be dead. Gosling goes to confront Megavolt for killing him, but gets captured in the process, again, like you do. Launchpad and Ghost Darkwing go to save her, only for Launchpad to also get captured as well. DW needs to run into action to help them, but oh no, Death has finally caught up with him and drags him away. He makes a deal with Death and is able to postpone his fate for about an hour as he attempts to save his friends. With DW's guidance, Launchpad is able to free himself and actually capture Megavolt through the power of self-reflection. With the threat now gone, they return to Morgana for one last attempt to return Darkwing from the dead, but once again, it fails. Resolved to his fate, Darkwing finally says his goodbyes and allows Death to take him. But with a quick change of heart, he pleads with Death not to take him and promises never to ride his bike without a helmet again. And the scene transitions to Darkwing back at home in his bed with a bandage on his head and his friends by his side. Invigorated that he is alive, he starts to plan a party and bake a cake, but not before Lucifer pops back up, making us all wonder, was it all a dream? Full credits.
Very nice. Good job. I never thought there would be a Sailor Moon reference in a show that aired before Sailor Moon. Power of love!
Power of love!
Or is that more, let's see, Heart, Go Planet, Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
All right, well, we will be right back with our reactions and comments on the episode after this word from Championship Martial Arts. Hey there, everybody. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Championship Martial Arts. Now, if you remember correctly, that's the school my family goes to, and they've got a great deal for the holidays for everybody. So right now, you can train the entire rest of the year for only $99. Includes a private lesson, your uniform, and a $75 Visa gift card for you for the holidays. That's right. So basically, you get paid, you get a gi, and you get trained for the entire rest of the year for only $99. So check them out on their website, championshipmartialartsaz.com, right here in Peoria, Arizona. And now, let's get back to the podcast. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's talk about the episode. Things we liked, things we didn't like. Let's kind of go through it a little bit. I will kick us off here. The intro. Let's just go right. I mean, that's the very first
Gotta
thing
talk
you see.
about the intro.
I'm just like, yes, 3, 2, 1, Darkwing Duck. You know,
if there's
it's
trouble, you
it's
could call
just...
DW. Sorry, I get into the groove. That skip intro button popped up from Disney Plus, and I was just like, "Don't you dare!"
Yeah,
It's like that with almost every 90s Disney cartoon that played throughout that section, for sure.
They all had
Yes.
very catchy theme songs.
Yeah,
Yes, they
Tailspin, you had
DuckTales.
Rescue
DuckTales,
Rangers.
Rescue
Rescue
Rangers. They had the Powerline show at one point, and the Goofy show, or
Yep,
yeah,
Goof Troop.
Goofy Troop.
Goof Troop.
Goof Troop, yeah. They all had bangers. You know, not all of them were quite as good, but I mean, Darkwing Duck it's like Power Rangers.
Mhm.
It's just stuck
Yeah.
in your DNA after you've watched a bunch of episodes for it. So,
As the kids say, it slaps.
it's fire.
It's fire.
It totally slays.
We open, so immediately after that intro, we get to one of my favorite parts of the show, which is we get to see Megavolt, the villain. Now, I loved the villains of this show. I can't put my finger on as to why, but I just loved how they were always so thematic and admittedly sometimes very cool looking. Megavolt being one of them.
Yeah. I love the battery pack on the back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, and the rubber gloves. I mean, come on. You know,
He
he's
was-
working with electricity. He's got to have rubber gloves.
He was skating along the power lines. I mean, that was neat.
Yep.
I like that. That was a good touch.
I as we were watching through, I noticed within the first 20 seconds of the show after the theme song started, there was so much alliteration that between DW and Launchpad going on. I'm like, wow, was Stan Lee writing this? You know?
Definitely, you could see the inspirations behind it for sure.
Yeah. Obviously,
we-
you know, they go ahead.
No, you keep going.
I was just gonna say the alliteration starts with where they're headed. You know, it was they were going to the anvil factory, which reminded me of you know, Acme Looney Tunes, even though it's the other company, not Disney, but it was still right there and present in my brain because we watched Looney Tunes back then too a lot. So
When well, I was just going to ask, when was the Roger Rabbit movie come out? Was that 94?
late 80s.
Oh,
No,
that was late 80s.
That was late 80s.
So they must have had like just the tail end of the we're still kind of friends relationship-esque
Could have.
then,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe. So when they're in the anvil factory, you see Negavolt going over to try to get him with some anvils, and he grabs an 8-ball handled pull lever, and I'm like, an 8-ball is the final ball you're shooting. Is this foreshadowing, people? You know, Sean, I totally saw it coming.
Yeah. Right before that, as Darkwing is about to enter the factory, he's like, "Oh, this is going to bode well." So there was a lot of foreshadowing as to what was going to happen in that episode. And so as they're fighting, there was too many really great little puns and alliterations to mention, but the one I'm going to call out is just made me laugh. It's like your goose is cooked. It's like, no, it needs another 20 minutes.
Yeah, you and I both, Sean, had the same call out there because I had that down as 2 for a funny joke, and then I'm like, really? Like the whole turkey in the oven? Nah, this needs like 20 more minutes there, Chief. And then the anvil falling, and I'm like, like Aaron said, the Acme references.
So we get, and then in typical cartoon fashion, we get 2 anvils dropping on his head, but he's wearing a helmet, so it's fine. The only thing he gets is one of those extended bumps on his head because cartoon.
Helmets.
Sure, helmets.
He could just push it back down. It's fine.
Shortly after that, we finally get his catchphrase. Say it with me, folks. Let's get dangerous. Ah, yes. Well, that is one of the 2 things that he says all the time that I absolutely love. And the other one we get later on the episode, which I will bring up here in a couple minutes.
No worries. So we move forward. Obviously, they're leaving. They're getting on the bike, and Launchpad starts giving him a hassle about not wearing his helmet. When, of course, Launchpad is not wearing a helmet.
I was going to say.
He's wearing his pilot's cap, which is usually leather for the age that he was doing stuff. So, yeah, no, I'm like, ironic, isn't it? But then again, DW's a star. Launchpad's not. Launchpad doesn't have much upstairs normally. He's usually the comedic relief, butt of the joke, dimwit of the group.
It's hard leather, Aaron.
Sure, yeah, hard leather, yeah, just like the football players used to wear, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
There was the leather heads.
There was no concussions or anything that happened back then at all.
No, he's good. He's fine.
So...
Not to mention 2. I don't know how much an anvil weighs. If you do, get in the comments and let me know. But 2 anvils drop on his head in succession. But riding his bike without a helmet, that's too dangerous. Lesson.
Exactly. So I think this one did a little bit better than He-Man in the not slamming you in the face with the lesson of the day the entire time. I'm like... Watch this. I got a little flashback of He-Man's going, "Let's not get high." References.
No.
It was definitely nowhere near as bad.
Yeah.
So we move on. They're driving on their bike, and you see the villain going on skating on electrical wires, like Sean mentioned earlier. And I'm like, what in the law of science, guys? I mean, come on here. It's hilarious to watch, but they wouldn't be able to hold his weight. They barely hold birds. So
True.
And he's a mouse. So or a rat. I can never really remember what
I think he's a rat for sure, because if he was a mouse, people would go uproar, and he's related to Mickey, and we can't have that for Disney.
Well, I don't know. Mortimer's a mouse, and he doesn't look anything like Mickey. He looks very similar to
that is true
to how Negavolt looks. So then we get the bike crashing in, and we get our 4th wall break, where we all knew ducks could fly, but kids shouldn't.
Yep.
So don't try this at home, kids. Oh! So
into just the void.
Right. Then obviously he goes to what they're showing as kind of a purgatory-ish state, and then he falls to the place that they're not supposed to say, but not without making a Disneyland joke.
Yeah.
So the line about theme park lines. What is this? A theme park? And I'm like, truth, but so.
I don't know why it was so jarring as he comes up to the character that we now know is named Lucifer, but he's like, "Who are you?" Whispers in the air. "Where am I?" Whispers in the air. So you can't say Lucifer or the devil or hell in a 90s TV show, but
well, you can't call him that. Right before that, Darkwing literally said, "What in the devil or where in the devil am I?" Something like that. But then you go and you see the devil, but he can't say it. And he does say Lucifer later.
Yes.
But they won't say it right there and then. They won't have him say that they won't let him say it, like, you can't say devil, you can't say hell, you can't call him Lucifer in the moment. But it's the 90s, so we can make fun of used car salesmen. We can make fun of lawyers. We can make fun of plumbers. We can make fun of all the people that were rip-off artists, and then kick them into hell.
Okay,
so
speaking of
Senator.
which,
that was the other one.
and the Senator. Speaking of which, we get that, he's kicking a used cars salesman into hell. He's kicking the senator into hell. The plumber, like, I get the classic cartoon humor of a used car salesman and a senator. Sure, still holds up. But a plumber?
It was the 90s.
It was the
90s was like a big, huge, because I think that was the big boom of quick rich schemes of these small businesses opening plumbing businesses and then just completely shafting everyone.
A lot of times people would assume if they got hourly bills from people, hourly rates, they didn't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
So because it took you 20 minutes to fix this, but you're charging me for 2 hours worth of labor.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean,
it's the same thing where later on in the early 2000s, it went from plumbers to the yard people. So landscapers or people that just cut your trees and stuff like that too.
Did you notice the sound of the first when he kicks the used car salesman in there? It's that old school scream on there from the movies. Yes. I'm like, oh yeah, sweet, use that Disney budget, grab that there. But then the second one when the senator goes in is different.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you gotta have a variety. Yeah.
And Sean, to answer your question, an anvil is 260 pounds.
Okay, thank you. That's still very heavy. Okay, enough to
that's a heavy enough to cause concussion from that height.
Yeah.
or if you're wearing a small little helmet, you'd be fine, kids. Just remember that as a life lesson. Wear your helmet when you're getting anvils dropped on you.
Making a huge crevice where it falls too.
Yeah.
Let's mention that too. It's like if you dropped it in cake, it sunk to the bottom. The crust of the earth, wherever that is now.
Well, there was a random oven there, so
that's true.
I did want to call out one line that happened around where we're talking about, which is it was so good. I wouldn't be caught dead here. Get it? You get it? You get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just that I mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. The humor of this show sometimes went over my head as a kid, but rewatching it is so good. It's just, I love it.
This is the same area that you hear him call him Lucifer at that same time.
Yeah.
So, and then Lucifer says he's going to sue him. I got plenty of lawyers here.
Solid joke. Solid joke. I got the best lawyers, he says. Solid.
Ba-dun-dun.
And we go where, and then speaking of the holes in the ground, we go back where Ghost Darkwing heads back to the mortal realm, and there's a Darkwing shaped hole in the wall because trope. Cartoon. Classic cartoon. And speaking of great lines, he gets back home and he's like, "Oh, I'm just dead on my feet."
Yeah.
They're really hamming up the dead jokes.
Now this is the first. This is the first Darkwing episode that we've rewatched, and I haven't honestly watched it in a while. And I'm wondering how much of this carries over into every single episode. But yeah,
they sat in that writer's room. They're like, okay, I need 70 jokes and puns about death and being in hell and heaven and go. Break
my
team.
Root beer.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty funny how, as you know, he's seeing all his friends and family upset. He's talking to them, and talking does nothing. But as soon as he starts shouting, that's when they can finally see him when he's getting upset. I'm like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense because anger is his love language. So
power of love.
Power of love. And then after that, after they rush off to go visit Morgana, and she tries to do a re-incantation spell, reincarnation spell.
Carnation.
And he's got the line of, "Well, you've got the carnation part down," as he transforms
Yeah.
into a flower. Solid joke. Like, that's good.
They also, if no one noticed it, because the character that's trying to make him come back alive is a reference to the movie with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her.
Which I was like, solid reference.
Yeah.
I see it. I see it.
Her last name is not Macabre, but it's Macabre or something like that. It's something
Yeah.
very, very close. I was like, oh, that's a good little alliteration there. And then after he isn't able to be reincarnated, he goes to fight Megavolt because that will solve it. And here's my favorite part of the show. Every single episode, we get the "I am the terror that flaps in the night," and "I am the ghost of the chance you didn't have." I love those lines. They always crack me up. That's absolutely my favorite part of the show, is when he drops the "I am the terror that flaps in the night."
It was always great hearing the different ones they tailored to the episode and tried to get it going there, because it was always hilarious. It was always, just something you look forward to for each episode.
In that same episode, as he's trying to fight Megavolt, I don't know if you guys like clock this or recognize this, or if you like stuck out to you as something odd, but Megavolt, the phone that he's using, is one from like 1910 or 1920, where it's got like the handle and the little earpiece that you hold up to your ear, and the little rotary dial. I'm like, okay, this is made in the 90s. Why do cartoons use this phone a lot? Because they do, as opposed to like a regular like landline.
Disney did that, especially if you go to Toontown and stuff like that too. They still have all of those types of phones too.
Phones.
But I think it's paying homage to actual Walt Disney, because that's his time frame is 19. That's what he liked.
He had the rotary phone.
Right, but a lot of his animations and stuff was him paying homage to old Americana. So Main Street USA brought into the cartoon aspect of it. He brought that to Toontown as well. So they kept paying homage to him by bringing that old Americana somehow, even if it's as little as like a telephone.
That's true. I mean, you go look back at a lot of the old cartoons. They'll like the Ghosts one, the Ghost Hunters, that they made, and they use that exact same type of phone. They have the one at home, and then they have in their office, and they have the one they're calling on over at the actual ghost house. It's throughout it. It's a tune phone. Is kind of how I always took it as, because even when they did Roger Rabbit, that was the phone that they used in Toontown. That takes place in a way earlier time frame too. If you look at the garb and stuff. Plus, Darkwing Duck is obviously an homage to Batman.
Yeah.
So, and Batman's original run, and even in the cartoons, always kind of has that homage to the 30s and 40s, and the vehicles and stuff, that's the type of phone they had then. So it kind of just takes place, it just kind of feels right in those types of scenes when they're doing that. Obviously today, most kids would be like, "What the heck is that?" Like, what, and then you go on and watch like stuff for the 90s, the cordless phones, and you're like, "That's why we do this." You had the pickup receiver that you put to your ear, and you do this to talk for it. That's why the phone symbol is the way it is on your app on your smartphone and stuff. So, anyways, I'll get off my grandpa stool and move back to the episode here. So Megavolt's talking to his agent about the movie and who he wants it to take place, and wants for them to shell out some big bucks to get a superstar. And he says, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to take it to the other to the other brothers. And I'm just like, WB gag, nice. So
So not quite as friends anymore.
Who knows?
Jokes.
Yeah. Then we finally have Death actually show up, and I'm like, wow, we got Death or Grim Reaper as it's credited in there, and I'm like, how many other ethereal figures are we going to have show up here? Is Gabriel going to come? Is is Krampus going to show up? What do we got here, guys? Come on.
So, following that, Darkwing is getting hunted by the Grim Reaper, Death, or whatever he's credited as, right? And he runs back door and he slams the door. Death is knocking at his door. Again, a good pun or a good reference right there. And he's like, no, Darkwing here. Try next door. And that works. Like,
Yes.
He goes next door
And
and
he
clicks
stops
his
to
neighbor.
think.
Yeah.
Darkwing stops to think about whether he should stop him from taking him. I'm just like...
This is why there was a question of what side, when he crossed over, which side he would go to. This is why Drake
walks that fine line.
Fine line.
Very gray scaled rather than black or white, for sure.
Oh, so a few minutes later, we actually get to hear the voice of Death, and I heard it, and I'm just like, wait, I know that voice. I had to look it up. It's the late great Tony J, where the one most people are going to probably recognize from is he plays the villain in Hunchback of Notre Dame. So he is the cardinal there. But, I mean,
Frollo.
he's done a ton.
Count
Yes,
Frollo, yeah.
Count Frollo. Yeah, he does a ton of voiceover work. He's actually was born in the 1920s and was an actor for over, almost 70 years, basically.
That's crazy.
He passed away in 2006, unfortunately. But I mean, eventually, everybody's got to go. But he had a very nice long life and a huge career. So definitely going to look into it a little bit more because it was a voice that I loved hearing. And when I heard that, I'm just like, oh yes. So
Nice.
I think didn't he sing his songs on
Yes.
Hunchback as well? So
Yes, he
that
did.
is his voice singing too.
correct.
Oh my gosh. Multi-talented man.
Very. So Darkwing's trying to get out of going with him and is begging for that extra hour so he can go save Goslin and Launchpad. So he brings back the finger trick that he tried in the beginning with Megavolt. And I was like, that's pretty funny that Death can't do it and his hands just shatter. And I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure I remember I could do this. Can you guys do it?
I can't.
For our podcast listeners, this is your podcasters attempting to do this physical action on
The
screen.
people that cannot see it.
Exactly. Go to our YouTube channel and check it out. Or maybe we'll post something up on social media of this.
Yes, I
Nice
could
little
do
clip.
it.
But no, my hands have locked up and are
That's
broken
not-
like Death's. So
Nope.
But you start on top, fingers to the side, twist to the same direction.
No.
still no. Still no.
So, kids, just so you know, only half of your favorite podcasters can actually do it. So, myself and Jamal, Cody and Sean could not.
It's
There you go. I
these
don't know if that
piano
helps us be your
fingers.
favorites a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're like Darkwing. You are not. So we go through. Everything ends up good. They end up back at Morgana's. Darkwing's begging Death outside after he says his goodbyes. And then we get the old switcheroo. Fade bow.
It was just
Oh,
a
no.
dream.
Yes,
Very-
classic.
Very
Classic.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And
Dorothy
you were
has
there.
returned.
And you were there.
You were there.
Oh, and he gets super excited. He goes in to make a cake. And I'm like, oh, maybe not. It's got to be devil's food if you're going to do it.
How do we know it's not angel food?
Yeah, well, that's because he popped out saying nope.
True.
Stop eating those meatball subs at night.
Yeah.
Ugh. Keep the cholesterol low.
Yes. Then we got roll credits, and that's our episode.
That's it.
We get the theme song all over again, but no lyrics.
No lyrics.
Instead-
Yep. Yeah, Disney Afternoon, you had just musical outros on that.
Still,
Mm-hmm.
great
Yeah.
song, even without lyrics.
Yeah.
Very. I let it play to the
Yeah.
end, because that saxophone just kills it. So
It's like, no, Disney Plus, I do not want to go to the next episode. In
Not yet.
fact, I want to finish this.
Yep. So, all right. Well, let's take our last break for our final sponsor. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, nerds. We'll get back to the rewind in just a moment, but I've got to jump in here because I've got some great news for you. We've got a brand new sponsor. Yes, we do. Mediocre Studios. This is a veteran-founded small business specializing in 3D printed miniatures, terrain, tabletop pieces. If you are anything like me, which, let's face it, you might be, I love my 3D printer. I love my 3D printed pieces and painting them, but there's so many. I've got a huge backlog of stuff to paint. Well, guess what? Not only is Mediocre Studios the official US distributor for the Uniformation 3D resin printer, but they also provide minis, tabletop terrain pieces, and painting services. And guess what? They're about to hook you up by letting us hook you up. That's right, we got promo codes, kids. If you go onto their website, mediocre-studios.com, you can order the JK2 and get $80 off if you use the promo code RETRO. Also, you can get 5% off the purchase of any miniature, terrain, or those painting services if you use code word REWIND. They are adding new products all the time, from top modelers including Materium God Miniatures, Den of Imagination, DMG Minis, and several other talented artists. So go check them out. The link's down below. That's mediocre-studios.com. Don't sleep on this one because A, these guys are amazing. B, you know you got that backlog. I got that backlog. Go get some stuff painted. It looks great on the table. Go do it. Wait for the podcast again to be over. Listen, enjoy us, but go visit them. That's Mediocre Studios. Yeah.
All right, we are back. Thank you for listening. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. Let's get some final thoughts and ratings on Darkwing Duck, Dead Duck. Let's start with Sean.
Oh, yes. I love the episode. I loved everything about it. My rating, 10 out of 10. Absolutely would watch again. Would do another episode about it. Absolutely.
Awesome. What do you think, Jamal?
I'm gonna give it 10 duck blasters out of 10 duck blasters.
Sounds good. What about you, Cody?
Well, I'm going to give it a 9.5 anvils getting to the center of the earth out of 9 anvils to the center of the earth.
Oh, that's good. All right, so I really enjoyed the episode. But you know what? Real quick before I give my stuff, why don't I give out that code for Drawn to Comics? This week's episode special code is R&R Pod. That's right. So when you swing by Drawn to Comics, give them the code R&R Pod, and you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. That's not specially marked items or consignment. Again, R&R Pod.
Our pod.
All right, so my take. I love this episode. It was hilarious. So many great references in there. So many other shows you could kind of feed back to, see inspirations. I loved the Warner Brothers little digs here and there. That was just hilarious to me. I enjoy watching this. I would definitely watch another episode, or maybe do a two-parter, because there are some two-parters that we could really do, and have a couple of special episodes on doing those. And so yeah, I'll give this a 10 out of 10 as well. I really enjoyed it.
Wasn't there also a Darkwing Duck movie as well at some point? I could have sworn that there was a movie.
There were
Probably not.
there were multi-parters, but I don't remember an actual movie, or even a made-for-TV movie. And it recessed it a few of them.
I know DuckTales had a couple. Yeah.
DuckTales had one. It was a theatrical release, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, which came out before Aladdin did. It was their test to see if genie stuff would work.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
They even outsourced the animation. It wasn't even animated by normal Disney Afternoon Animation. So it was actually really good. I'd love for us to even do that if we have a chance somewhere along the way.
Speaking of movies, really quick, I always thought if they made a Darkwing Duck movie that Jim Carrey could play Megavolt.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
That would be funny. We have to find twins, some kind of twins, to do Darkwing and Negaduck, because we'd have to do it. You'd have to have Negaduck in there as the big bad, or maybe just the bad at the end for a teaser for the next movie. One of the two. Yeah, you couldn't have Negaduck as the first villain in there. It'd have to be a teaser for the second one, because he's too important.
Yep.
He's too important. So, but yeah, it would be cool to do. A lot of great voiceover actors. It would have to be animated, obviously. I would hit. Well, I guess technically, even live action movies nowadays are animated.
Half and half.
Yeah, give it the Sonic treatment.
I'm yelling at you, Lion King. It's not it's not a live action movie, people. So stop calling it that.
But the Sonic treatment, if they gave it like it's still cartoony, but like with a couple of live actors reacting.
Another episode.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And you know what? We've had some listeners occasionally reach out to us about specific shows or episodes, and we would love to hear more from you guys of what you would like to hear from us, what shows you remember, what you love. So please drop it in the comments wherever you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube. We are paying attention. We are watching that. Our He-Man episode that we did was listener recommended, and unfortunately for Jamal, he has requested another one.
No.
That episode is not a entirety PSA episode, though. So it'll be probably a little bit more fun to watch through. And we'll probably make Jamal talk a lot more on that one, just because we know He-Man is his absolute favorite show in the entire universe. So yeah, drop a comment on the show you'd love for us to watch, and comment on from your childhood. And Sean, why don't you take us out?
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. But until next time, when we hit rewind. See you later.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.